Heal yourself and heal your mind is the subject of today's For a Better Life podcast. Understanding your inner guide. Self-healing meditation we'll touch on. Listening to your inner voice, your inner guidance system. Heal your life by understanding internal dialogue definition. A Course in Miracles helps us quite a bit to understand the inner voice and which is the right inner voice that we want to be listening to. Hey everyone, James Nussbaumer, and thank you for visiting this episode of For a Better Life podcast. Oh, it's early this morning, 6 a.m., and we're getting this going, and what prompted this subject matter today was Chrissy and Victor of Bainbridge, in a little area in Massachusetts in the United States. And they wanted to know more. They had said that they had read my second book of the series called Mastering Your Own Spiritual Freedom, Lessons from A Course in Miracles. And they wanted to know more about, Jim, you had talked about the inner critic, the bad one that keeps us and holds us back. But you'd also said that there's no such thing as the devil. And can you expand on that, the inner critic? And we're not going to talk too much on the devil today. In fact, not at all, because there really is no such thing. We only dream that there is, because eternity cannot be split in two. Hell and heaven, there can't be two separate things. Eternity, heaven is whole. It's oneness we talked about in previous podcasts. And I'm not going to elaborate on that today, but wholeness cannot be conflicted. It can't be separate. And your idea of separation, which is a dream of sort, is what we're going to talk about today, which is the ego-based mind, that inner critic that we're going to talk about. But listening to the right inner voice certainly may be your path to heal yourself and on to succeed in life. By the way, in the description area, if you're listening to this at YouTube, which it's being posted to, is an access link to a wonderful video, a free video on how to manifest my dreams. And it's about a system of manifestation that I think is just awesome. And I hope that you'll check out that free and safe video. But much of our time is spent looking at the past as if it were real. And what I mean is our real or right mind. Well, our right mind is still not real. It's of the ego mind as well, but it's the part of the human ego-based mind that senses, that has a sensation of our home, where it senses a calling from our real home, heaven, instructing us what to do. That's the inner voice. That sensation is what we want to listen to. That's the one that bypasses the inner critic. And our right mind views the past as a dream. But our inner guide, and with self-healing meditation, which I always urge that you learn self-healing meditation, mindfulness meditation, if you haven't already, because it's wonderful for getting to that alpha state within you where your creativity sits and understanding internal dialogue definition. But, the illusory habits of mind that you still carry with you, hear voices in the shadow, so to speak, but they do not change the laws of time and eternity, because nothing can change eternity. Eternity is whole, like I just mentioned. It is one. It's not split in two. It's one of eternal bliss. If there was a heaven and hell, that would mean that eternity was at constant war with one another. And that's just impossible when you really think about the truth of the matter. The inner critic revealed, so you may heal your life. You want to reveal your own inner critic. And everybody has inner dialogue that can be either helpful or can, on the other hand, be that inner nasty critic that you just do not want to listen to, because that inner critic is what holds you back in life. And some people have an extra hostile inner critic, we could say, compared to others, more so than others. And it all begins with, the inner idea of life, our internal discussion that goes on in our mind. You know, really the voice, the internal voice heard as a critic, you know, it's what begins writing the script of our life in this world. So are you going to listen to your inner voice from a right-minded sense, or more of a wrong-minded, ego-based sense, which is based on fear and doubt and judgment? You know, and I hope that answers your question, Chrissy and Victor of Brain Binge, but as an extremely vital, it writes this, if whatever voice we decide to listen to, that's what writes the script of our life. So, and that internal, the inner critic comes to be the inner prison cell, you could say, that you are bound to and locked up in, and that you just locate, so to speak, on your own going with the movements of life, you know, never grabbing the opportunities that come your way. That's what the inner critic does to us. It keeps us locked up in a prison cell, so to speak, called the body. But you can learn how to truly start countering and, you know, combating, we could say, the inner critic, and start on your own path to personal freedom. And that is what today's podcast is about. How to listen to your inner voice is knowing that your true teacher, the real and true teacher or guide while in this world, is here to help you. You know, our creator, however you want to term your creator. I use the word God. I like traditional terms, but it doesn't matter. And like I've said in previous podcasts and in my books, you know, the letters in the alphabet, such as G-O-D, the word God, is just words of human nature. It's just words that human made up. You can use any word you want. It doesn't matter. It all means the same. But our Creator gave us His teacher, which is His Spirit, an extension within that wholeness called the Holy Spirit, another traditional term I like to use. And He uses the Holy Spirit for us, kind of like implanted the Holy Spirit in our minds while we're here on this earth as an antivirus software, so to speak. That I like that term Marianne Williamson coined, an excellent author who writes also from A Course in Miracles like I do. Marianne Williamson has excellent books, and I hope that you will check her out as well. But you know, she had coined that it's like the Holy Spirit we can see as like an antivirus software that's installed in our real mind, and not the brain, the mind, the spirit essence of us, to undo the inner critic, the ego-based, which is a humanistic aspect in us built on fear and doubt that likes to keep us from our real goals and dreams and hold us back in life. You know, the Holy Spirit does not need to raise conflict, because it's the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit is, and that is what is eternal. And eternal, true eternity is whole in one. There's not two. So that's why there can be no conflict. So the Holy Spirit does not need to raise conflict, because the Holy Spirit is not even aware of conflict. But the Holy Spirit, being that it's God's Holy Spirit, is aware that you are in conflict. I am in conflict. We're all in conflict while we're in this world, because as humans, we project and we assume and we write the script of our life based on assumptions and projections. You know, the best psychologist will tell you that what he needs to do as a psychologist is understand and accept that humans make projections. You know, A Course in Miracles helps us more clearly understand how to listen to your inner voice, and states these profound words. The Holy Spirit is invisible, but you can see the results of His presence. And through them, you will learn that He is there. Isn't that kind of soothing as I sip on my coffee? I think it is, as the coffee's kind of soothing. My real guide told me, go ahead and take a sip of coffee now, Jim, because I've got the good kind from the grocery store. But the Holy Spirit's efforts will not have any effect on eternity at all. The Holy Spirit is only in us while we're in this world, dreaming of separation, dreaming of separate identities, dreaming of a dual eternity. It's all a dream of sort that we think everything's got to be duality. And the Holy Spirit knows better, but his healing efforts are to undo those conflicting thoughts of separation that we have. Even where we are finding, say, for example, relationship struggles that I myself am guilty of, and much of the world is as well. I also thought I was the only one that had relationship struggles, and had ugly divorce and things like that. But I'm not the only one in the world. But even where we are finding relationship struggles or needing marital healing, your inner guide, the Holy Spirit, call it Louise or Harriet if you want, or George or Mac. It doesn't matter. I use the term the Holy Spirit because it's traditional, it hits home with me, and it makes sense. But even where we are finding these kind of struggles in life, love relationship problems and so forth, our inner guide is there for you. And I also want to say too, let me interject and say, at my blog, jamesnussbaumer.com, there's a related article to help begin fixing a broken relationship and a broken marriage. And you can find that at my blog jamesnussbaumer.com/advice for relationship healing. You'll find it. But so simply ask the Holy Spirit. Go within in the form of meditation or prayer if you'd like. Some people are afraid of meditation, and that's understandably so because of our conflicting nature as humans. But, and some people just are more comfortable with prayer, and that's fine. Prayer really is meditation too. Oh, it's all a word. Meditation, once again, is letters in the alphabet. The word and prayer the same. But the meaning behind the word prayer and the meaning behind the word meditation is all the same. It's connecting with your source. So simply go within, whether prayer or meditation, what's comfortable for you, and ask the Holy Spirit that he do the job, that you're trusting him as you learn how to listen to your inner voice. Let him, the Holy Spirit, you can call the Holy Spirit she if you want, put a female overtone if you'd like. Once again, I use a masculine overtone because that's just what is more traditional and it just makes more sense. So let's don't go get upset about masculine overtone versus female overtone here. You can use whatever you want, but as you learn how to listen to your inner voice, let him take over as your teacher. And all time that is past is gone from your mind. It just is erased and it's forgiven and it's overlooked because you're going beyond it. And that's the true definition of forgiveness that A Course in Miracles teaches us, is by looking beyond the errors in thought, overlooking the errors in thought by going beyond to the true essence, the true nature that you are, which is spirit, which is whole, and does not conflict and is not separated in any way or manner. It is wholeness. Something that the wholeness and oneness is something that the human body, because it's ruled by the ego, cannot seem to totally grasp. But that's okay. Do not dissect it like an engineering project or a mathematic project. Just let it flow across your brain. That wholeness is all that heaven is, and it's all that we are. Anything else is of conflict. But so while in this world, we deal with conflict because the world is of conflict. The reason we got in this world is because of the dream of separation, which is a good way of looking at things, I believe. And the dream of separation means that we continually dream of conflict in this world because we only think that we've pulled ourselves away from wholeness. But going within is where you begin to make your dreams come forth to reality, and is why, again, that I urge that you seek out mindfulness meditation exercises. You know, everything now is exactly as it was before you decided on a path to nothingness. Think about that my inner guide has instructed me to take a sip of coffee again. And what I mean by on a path to nothingness is that separation, conflict, the dream of separation, the dream of life in this world, which is based on time and space, conflict where there is no wholeness, that part is nothingness. It's not real. It doesn't last. It's concrete. It fades away as we fade away. But your path to nothingness has been a long and weary journey. And, you know, for now, you just can't even remember what it was like before you even started. Let's just say before you were born into this world. Can you remember what it was like before you were born into this world? Of course you can't. You're probably thinking to yourself, is he crazy or what? How am I supposed to remember what it was like before I was born? Well, see, that's the ego in us that puts a blockade against our real thoughts. The ego in us, our human nature of doubt, fear, conflict, judgment, will not allow us to think beyond the body. But you can go around that ego-based thinking and you can think beyond the body because you do get glimpses of heaven once in a while. And I don't need to explain how, but I can, for that relationship deal I was talking about, it could be in the ultimate experience that lovers have with one another, the climatical experience. Isn't that kind of a expression or a reflection of heaven, which even in that minute, that moment of climax, isn't that a reflection of oneness and unity and total wholeness? Yes, it is. It could be as a little child eating that chocolate ice cream cone. During that time while the ice cream is lasting, it's complete in one blissful wholeness, isn't it? You can come up with all kinds of examples, but the dream seems very real. But however, you are still the same and unchanged, only now you have a new teacher who is guiding you to spiritual awakening rather than deeper into the dream. Think about it. When you have normal humanly bodied dreams at night, while you're in that dream, dreaming of maybe playing a great round of golf, or maybe it's a nightmare about something. While you're in the dream, you have no clue of what not being in the dream is about, do you? No, you don't, because you're dreaming. Like I had said, this is just a good psychological way to think about life in this world, to make things a little easier, to heal yourself, to heal life. There's a tiny tick of time when each of us made the first error and slipped into that dream of separate surroundings. Just a tiny, tiny instant tick of time. And that's the instant we're in right now. It's just an instant. Or a small part of the wholeness of us slipped into a dream of sort. And that's all that's been going on since time began, since the so-called Garden of Eden till now. Think about it in that sense. It's all an instant. And so many people are coming and going within that instant. If you can look at it that way, it can make things begin easier because you can see that within that single error stemmed and branched and fragmented wholeness again, but fragmented wholeness and stemmed more errors in thought, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to project and assume this and that. Within that single error stemmed more errors within the dream, and the dream continued and split apart, and other parts of the dream branched off, total fragmentation, all kind of just a fragmented, like a huge cracked egg, so to speak, that's just fragmented. The shell is fragmented everywhere. Wholeness no more. Although wholeness really is there. It's just that We only dream that we're separate, and all these little, that, I'm different from you, and all these people around the world, we're all living different, separate lives. Sure we are, within the dream of separation. But there is no dream of wholeness, because wholeness is what is real. From behind the dream, where eternity sits and waits for us to awaken. While these airs were stemming and branching, they also had within them their correction, with a capital C. And we can put parentheses next to correction, meaning undoing. Not correction as in punishment, correction as in undoing or reversing. So in that tiny tick of time, in that tiny instant, when we drifted off, but before that instant, before we drifted off into that instant of dreamland, which is now gone, God gave us a protector with a capital P. This is our answer in how to listen to your inner voice. So here we go. Here's how to listen to your inner voice, the real inner voice that wants to see you have success in this world. Your journey continues to answer, and now your new teacher is showing you its effects. What do I mean? Let me sip on some coffee again. Its effects, cause and effects. Cause and effect, right? Effects. What is its effects? However, we cannot really, truly, and fully awaken as a whole back home in heaven as one into oneness until the entire world as one becomes whole and awakens. But aren't we on the path to that? Sure we are. We're slowly awakening. The ego, our former teacher, our teacher that wants to keep us filled with doubt, fear, projections, assumptions, judgments, criticisms, that teacher, that virus teacher wants us to shift back and forth between the past and the future, because when we vacillate back and forth on things, should have done it this way, but I didn't, and then we hound ourselves over that. Well, in the future now, I'm worried that I might do the same or whatever. The ego wants us to keep going back and forth between past and future, wants us to keep worrying. The ego does not know how to experience the present moment or the now. Much of our time is spent looking at the past as if it were real, but our real or right mind, which only views the past as a dream of sort. I had explained earlier in our review on that. Our right mind is still of the ego, human mind. The ego has the good sensations of right-mindedness as humans were ego. Excuse me, as humans were ego-based. But of that ego-based humanistic aspect of us, of doubt and fear and judgment, we have a wrong-minded side and a right-minded side. The right-minded side is where we can sense a true calling coming to us from our real home. Even though as humans we feel that sense of heaven, and we know what turn to make at the branch in the road. That's right-mindedness. Wrong-mindedness is when we stand at the branch in the road and we're so confused and we're calling ourselves an idiot. You idiot, you can't even make up a choice of which way you're going to turn, what decision you're going to make. That critical inner dialogue, that inner critic, that's the wrong-mindedness in us. So when we can accept both wrong-mindedness and right-mindedness, both of the ego, except the right-mindedness, is when the Holy Spirit is touching us and saying, here you go, I'm giving you some guidance. Turn this way at the branch in the road. And when we feel comfortable and do it, we get a little bit down the road and we say, man, am I so glad I made that turn. How many times have you thought it all seems like it was a dream? I can think back when my little daughters were born. I was there at the birth, in all the different things. My oldest daughter, when she had her first bicycle ride at 7 years old, I think back on that now at my age of 60, and I was in my 20s at that time. And when I gave her a push on the bicycle and she went down the hill, and she was so surprised and happy. Dad, I'm riding a bike all by myself. I'm doing it. I can remember that, but it all seems like a dream now. The years have went by, doesn't it, when you think of the past? See, but let's talk about your abstract thoughts that are received by the Holy Spirit. And what I mean is, when you have abstract thoughts of wholeness and oneness, that's the Holy Spirit whispering into your dreaming mind. Kind of like maybe, for example, that day when my daughter took her first bicycle ride at age 7. Well, that night when maybe she was sleeping, for example, and she was sleeping soundly because she was so proud of herself in her mind that she'd accomplished. Now she's a bicycle rider. And, perhaps, let's say I was whispering in her ear as her father, as she was sleeping, "You did so good today. Keep it up. You're doing well." You're doing that kind of a thing that a parent would say. See, that's the kind of whispering into your dreaming mind that the Holy Spirit is doing to us. He helps you to see yourself standing on the bridge, so to speak, between the past and the present. And he helps you to understand that while you're on the bridge, all there is the present. And there's no more past, because the past is gone. At this position on the bridge, a shadow of the past might reach you, but it's just a shadow. But a light of the present is shining in your face, of the present moment. That present moment when you're feeling that climatical sensation of whatever experience it is that you're going through. That's the present, the now, shining light, the light of reality, the light of eternity on your face. Now that this light has flooded your eyes, this is where you exist. It is drawing you over to the present, where you need to stay. The now is the only way to awaken. The illusory habits of mind that the ego gives us, you still carry. We're still going to carry them, but with hearing voices while we're in the shadow. The shadow is not real. It's the ego. But they do not change. The shadow does not change the laws of eternity. Let's talk about real briefly as we close here, how to quietly listen to your inner voice. They are only echoes of what is past and gone that you need to get over with and move on. They could never be true existence of the here and now, what happened in the past. Although at the time when my daughter was making that bicycle ride and I was watching her go down the hill as she was pedaling, and she was smiling, she was thrilled, and back beyond, as I was watching her, I was thrilled. There was a oneness, a wholeness, a connection, if you will. That at that time was presence. That was the now. That was eternity. Does that make sense? I hope so. But don't dwell on it, because if you dwell on it, just let it flow. If you dwell on it, your inner critic's going to come back in and sneak in the back door on you. Once you have crossed over the bridge and entered the real world, there is a second part of the dream or hallucination that we must confront. And it is the belief that time and death are real, and that time and death have an existence, that we think that we can, and we only perceive it. This terrible illusion was denied for you in the time it took God to give his answer to you, which is the protector, the undoer of what never was, which is the Holy Spirit, whose job is to help you see the illusion of time and space for what it is. How to listen to your inner voice is clear, because you have this help, this undoing help for all time to come while you're in this world. and for every circumstance you're ever faced with. For those of you that know my story, know I spent 8 long years in a state prison over a foolish securities violation where all my writing had started. I put my faith in my inner guide, my inner guidance system, my protector, who told me to write every single day, who told me what to do next. You know, in other words, as A Course in Miracles states, the Holy Spirit accompanies you while you dream of separation. You will know that you have crossed the bridge when you can see that time and death only affect the dream of separation, which is the fantasy of your body being who you truly are. If you can't get over the idea that your body is not who you are, it's just, you just occupy that while you're in this world. If you cannot get over that idea that you are not your body, then that means you're putting too much emphasis on the body as who you are. You're still chained to the ego-based mind. You're still locked up in the prison cell. The door is open. It's never been locked. It's easy for you just to walk right out. Also, there's another related thought-provoking article at my website that I'd like you to consider, and it's a nice down-home story that will help you with forgiveness and letting go. And it's at jamesnussbaumer.com as well. It is you can put in jamesnussbaumer.com/forgiveness and letting go. But I have many, I've got hundreds of blogs, because I write blog articles. I write every day, and my articles are very detailed. Many of them contain a video. But I invite you to sign up for my Everyday Miracles Mastermind newsletter, where we, meaning you, the reader, and I, the author, we bring our minds together, our mind, I should say, not two different minds. We bring our mind together in wholeness, in oneness, for self-success and for a better life, for a better world. I hope this made sense today. I hope you loved listening to this and maybe kind of got a good idea of where I'm coming from here. Please support my work. You know, I put a lot of effort into everything that I do, and it's a lot of work. So I hope that you'll support me. My 3rd book of the series has just been released. I'm so thrilled. It's called And Then I Knew My Abundance. I hope that you'll get a copy. The first 3 books of my ever-developing series are published by Ozark Mountain Publishing Company. Ozark Mountain Publishing Company is a mainstream publisher, and I'm so thrilled to have a nice, comfortable, whole and oneness type of relationship with them. They are a great company, and they saw it their way to get involved with my work when they answered to a letter I had written to them while I was in prison. One of many. I had enough rejection letters from publishers and literary agents from all over the world. I had enough rejection letters to wallpaper the entire inside of the prison. But Ozark Mountain Publishing Company, towards near the end of my incarceration, where I'd spent 8 years of the 10 years I was sentenced to, Ozark Mountain Publishing Company came through and offered me a contract. And it's been a little over 3 years now as of this date. Today is April 2nd, 2018. It's been a little over 3 years since I've been home from prison, and a lot has happened. I'm so thrilled. I'm so excited because I've been listening to my real teacher and guide. And sure, sometimes I do fall astray and get caught up in the inner critic. But then again, I just need to stop whatever I'm doing. Just stop and ask the Holy Spirit to undo the inner critic in my mind. And it only takes about an instant. And in moments, I feel better already, and I move on to what he's instructing me to do next. So I hope this all makes sense, and I hope you're thinking a lot about your own life and all the natural beauty and awesomeness that you possess inside. I want to ask you again to please support my work, and I hope to see you again at a future podcast. I hope maybe you'll join me in August at the Transformation Conference in Eureka Springs. Ozark Mountain Publishing Company has got that at their website, ozarkmt.com. Ozark Mountain Publishing Company. You could just put in to find it. At my blog, you'll see, at my website, you'll see how to contact Ozark Mountain Publishing Company, where you can find my books, and you can find them at Amazon and anywhere books are sold. And by the way, real quick before I sign off, if you go into a bookstore and my books are not on their shelf, ask them, say, why are they not on their shelf? See, it's up to the author to do that, and I can't get around right now as quickly as I'd like to all the stores in the world and do book signings everywhere. I just can't do it all. So if you in the area, whatever little corner or cranny you're in around the world, could you please do me a favor and go to your local bookstore and say, would you get James Nussbaumer's books in this store as soon as you can? Hey, it was fun. I enjoyed it. Thanks for listening to me. James Nussbaumer signing off. Gotta go, and God bless.